Damn, this chat's moving fast. What's up, guys? What's up? What's up? What's up? Yes, yes, yes. What's good? Cool. Sorry. Yeah, sorry this was a little bit delayed. It's supposed to start at 12 o'clock. We had over, I think, 5,000 people on Webinar Jam. Webinar Jam only holds 5,000 people. So the site just completely crashed. But we're back and we're good now. So there's going to be a lot of value in today's session. I'm sorry you guys had to wait a little bit, but hopefully the value that's in today's session kind of makes up for it. Are you guys excited to learn? Are you guys excited? Look at this chat. What's up, guys? What's up? What's up? What's up, guys? Okay, awesome. So I'm not going to keep you guys waiting anymore. I'll be honest, right? You guys already waited a long time. So I'm not going to keep you guys waiting anymore. We're going to get right into all the lessons and everything that I had planned. And hopefully you guys get value at the end of it. Okay. Remember, this is a 3-day event. This is the first day. We had a little bit of technical issues on the first day, but don't worry, tomorrow and the next day will be fine. So anyone that is wondering, technical issues on the first day, just too many people joined, but the second day and third day should be good. Okay. Awesome. All right. All right. So today we're going to be going over the 100K Trader Challenge. Now, what is the 100K Trader Challenge? So by the end of the 3 days, you'll understand the exact system that will turn you into a $100,000 trader. Okay. And when I say $100,000 trader, I don't technically mean dollar-wise $100,000 traders. Of course, everyone likes that number, but what makes a $100,000 trader, right? The systems behind it, the strategy behind it, right? I want you guys to learn the right foundation of what makes a $100,000 trader. Okay. Now, with this being said, my goal by the end of today's session will be how to master the exact simple step-by-step plan to become a $100,000 trader. So with that being said, are you guys ready? If you guys are ready for that, let's put some W's in the chat. Let's put some W's in the chat if you guys are ready for it. Let's see. Let's see this chat move. Are you guys ready to become a 100K trader? Or at least learn how to do it? Look at these W's, damn. You guys are about to freeze this chat. Okay, cool. Let's get into it. So you'll have the most clarity on how to start trading. That's really what I made this session for. Over the next 3 days, what I want to do is provide as much clarity as possible. Okay, so my main mission here is literally just to give you the simple step-by-step plan on how to become a $100,000 trader. Okay. Now, with this being said, you'll have, oh, sorry, I think I went back one slide. There we go. You'll have the most clarity. Even if you've never opened up a chart before, okay, this is for traders. If you've never opened up a chart before, I'll show you what to do. I'll show you when to do it. And most importantly, how to do it, because you guys need to learn how to actually implement the lessons. You guys have most likely been looking at previous, YouTubers or, people on Twitter, Instagram, whatever it may be, and trying to learn from social media traders, which is fine, right? But realistically, at the end of the day, it's all theoretical, right? By the end of these 3 days, you'll see why mine is not theoretical and why we're actually going to be trading live, which we'll talk about a little bit later in this session as well. Okay. And that's going to be step by step. So who does this system work for? There's a lot of different people in this chat. If you're in this chat, where are you guys from? If you're in this chat, where are you guys from? Let's see where people are from. Type where you're from if you're in the chat. Just got in. Because I know there's people from all over the world in this chat. So let's see. US, Toronto, Pakistan, Michigan, India, New Jersey, Hamilton. We got some Canadians in here, Singapore, South Africa, US. So people are in here from everywhere around the world, right? So I wanted to make something where it works for everyone, right? It's very simple who this is going to work for, okay? This is going to work for if you have a full-time job or you're working a 9 to 5, this works for you, right? And I know that because we have multiple students and traders that this has worked for working their 9 to 5s. For example, right here, $700 in profit from a swing trade using the system, okay? Full-time students, right? If you're a student, right? Let's just say you don't work full-time, but you're a full-time student, right? That can be hard. That's where I started as well, right? This system will work for you as well. If you're working part-time, this system works for you. And most importantly, if you're even parents, right? Because I know a lot of people, parents, family, son, whatever it may be, right? It takes up a lot of your time. And because of that, I want to make sure that no matter what you are doing in your personal life, this system, as long as it's mechanical, repeatable, and you're done by 11 a.m., it works for you. Okay? So, with this being said, you guys have kind of seen the results already and everything like that. Why should you listen to me? That's the most important question here, right? Why should you listen to me and who am I? Because you guys have probably seen me before and you're like, who is this kid with weird hair talking about trading, right? Like, why should I listen to this guy? Well, number one, I've been trading for a long time, but I made my first $1 million trading in 2021. And a lot of people may say that or claim things like that. If you guys look on screen now, you can actually see October 14th, 2021. This is straight from Twitter. That is when I hit my first $1 million trading, right? And this was, once again, in 2021. You know, there was probably, I don't know how many people in this chat. How long have you been trading in this chat? Let's see. How long have you guys been trading in this chat? How long have you guys been trading in this chat? Let's see how long some people have been trading. 9 months, 1 year, 3 years, 4 years. Okay, so we got some people from 25 years, I see. 1 year, 5 years, 3 months. Okay, so we got some people here, okay? So with myself, obviously, right, we have a bunch of live logins as well, right? Just in case if you guys haven't seen these already, right? These are from Interactive Broker. You genuinely cannot fake, you know, these results. And I think these results are just important to show, you know, why it's important to listen to someone that actually has a system and can prove it with real results, right? Broker statements, you guys have seen these already before, right? Some are from 2021. I actually just posted a broker statement on Twitter like 2 weeks ago for 2025 as well, if you guys want to check that out as well. Real withdrawals, $100,000, $50,000. I'm not going to bore you with all of it, right? But just know the verification is there. You can also go back on my Twitter, my Instagram, whatever it may be, and you can look for that as well. Okay. Now, here's the truth. After saying all of that, this is the reality of trading. To become a successful trader, you need to put in the work. Okay. You won't become a successful trader just by listening to someone. It is you that needs to put in the work consistently over a long period of time. Okay. And I know this may sound obvious to some people, but you genuinely be shocked at how many traders get stuck here. Because even for myself, I'll be honest, I was stuck here, right? How many people in this chat have, you know, known what to do, but they just get stuck in one spot? Why? Because they're lazy or they're procrastinating. That was literally me. I would be lazy or procrastinating all the time. Okay. And so most people, you probably have the talent to do it. It's just, you don't put in the work that's required to actually do it. Okay. And so hopefully by the end of these 3 days, you'll not only have the information that will help you do it, but hopefully I can also rewire your mind a little bit to be less procrastinators. Okay. Now, with this being said, today you'll walk away with the exact blueprint on how to become a $100,000 trader. And don't take my word for it, right? Because I know I say that, I've shown you my results, but it's like, okay, you're one person, no one else has done it. We've seen with the system that I'm going to teach you today, okay? Neto, for example, right? This is someone in our accelerator, whatever it may be, right? He made $168,000 in 4 months and he was unprofitable for over 3 years. Okay. But in 4 months, he made $168,000. I have a full interview with him going over his strategy and his system on the Traders Lab channel. Okay. So don't even worry about that if you guys want to watch that as well. Right. Michael, he made $40,000 in a single month using the system I'm going to teach today. And once again, a full interview going over his strategy, what he learned, how he learned it. And you guys can watch that for absolutely free on YouTube. Okay. So with this being said, over the next 3 days, what I will teach you is the foundation of any profitable trader. You will learn the exact skills that you need and that are required to become profitable. You will have a proven system that will make you $100,000. Okay, a proven system. And this isn't just a random system. This has been shown to work over and over and over again. And most importantly, and this has never been done before, I'm not just going to show you theoretical information. Right? Because you've probably seen so many people at this point show you that theoretical information, be like, this is proven, whatever it may be, and then call it a day. No. On day 3, on Tuesday, I will be live trading in front of you. Okay. So on Tuesday, day 3, I will be live trading for free on either YouTube or Webinar Jam, depending on what we figure out. Make sure to check your emails for that. But I will be live trading in front of thousands of you using the exact system that I teach you today. Okay. And this way you'll see how it's implemented in real time. Now, that's not it, because that's all good. I think a lot of people were most likely waiting for that, and obviously that's fine. But on top of that, I want to also make sure that I not only teach you, but I help you actually, get to your goals. And for this, if you stay for the next 3 days and you take notes, it's very important to mention you have to stay for all 3 days and take notes. Okay. I will be giving 5 people $1,000 live trading account. Now, this isn't prop firm capital. This isn't, a $50 recharge for a prop firm. No, this is 5 people will get $1,000. You can put that in your trading account. You can go buy a laptop with it. I don't care. It's going to be 1,000 people, it's going to be 5 people, and you will get $1,000. Okay. And once again, that's only for the people that stay for the 3 days and take notes. Number 2, free TradeZilla accounts. Okay. So for the people that stay the whole time, we will give free TradeZilla accounts only if you stay for the 3 days, take notes, and show the proof. Okay. And all of this would once again be announced on day 3. I will show it live and I will show you guys that we are actually doing it. Okay. It will be very, very transparent on who wins, who gets the TradeZilla accounts, and everything like that. Okay. So does that sound good to you so far? Does everything I've said so far sound good to you? Are you guys ready to get into it? Does that sound fire? I see some fire. Okay, awesome. I see some yes, see some W's in the chat. Let's go. Okay, so with this being said, here's what we're not going to do today. I'm not going to drag this out anymore, okay? I'm not going to sit here for another 20 minutes explaining things. I'm not, okay? I just wanted to explain what I needed to explain, and then I want to get all into value, okay? So not going to drag this out for you guys anymore. I'm not going to sugarcoat trading either, okay? I'm not going to sit here and be like, yo, trading is really easy. If you guys do this, boom, millionaire overnight. That is not what trading is, okay? Trading can be difficult, okay? But at the same time, trading can be very, very, very simplified. And with simplicity comes profitability, okay? And with this being said, I'm not going to give you a false reality, okay? I know you guys have seen a lot, especially if you're on Instagram, whatever it may be. You've seen people flashing lifestyle, all this, all that. I'm not showing you any of that. What I'm showing in this seminar is going to be strictly value for trading. Nothing will you see of lifestyle or anything like that. I will literally just show you the right steps to become profitable, because I'm personally bored of the whole lifestyle thing of myself, especially with the trading industry. Okay. So what we're going to be doing instead is day 1 today, I'm going to be showing you the exact system that will make you $100,000 trading. Okay, the exact system. And this is a system, once again, Max has used to make $1,000 in a single day. This is the same system KJ has used to make $1,700 in a single day as well. Okay, so what was the difference between them compared to us, right? What was the difference between the actual people that are profitable compared to the people that just keep losing? Well, the real winners, they chase process. They have one setup, they have one proven system, and most importantly, they repeat it every single day. And that's where your consistency is built, when you repeat something over and over again. Because the money in trading follows the process. If your process is good, the money will follow the process. However, the reality is most people, and I can almost assure you 90% of you in this chat, are most likely chasing the money, right? And because of this, you're going to continuously lose. But today, I'm going to show you the process, and as long as you focus on the process, the money will follow. Okay? So with this being said, let's get into it. How many of you guys, what strategy do you guys trade? Right off the bat, right, I want to ask you guys, what strategy do you trade right now? Do you trade the break and retest? Do you trade ICT, smart money concepts? Do you trade simple support and resistance, trend lines, right? What do you guys trade? Let's see what you guys trade in the chat. Break and retest, break and retest. Okay, makes sense. You guys are watching me, obviously, so break and retest. Some of you guys trend lines, supply and demand, support and resistance. Okay. First candle strategy. Okay, so for me today, okay, scalping, I see. For me today, my bread and butter, you guys already know, is the break and retest. Okay, that is the strategy that I use every single day. That is the whole system. Now, what does the break and retest actually look like? Now, for the break and retest, there's multiple ways that we can look at it, and there's multiple setups, which we will talk about later on in this video, or not video, sorry, this is not pre-recorded. I know I just said video. A bunch of you guys are going to say it's pre-recorded. It's not, it's live. You guys have seen the technical issues we've already had. But with that being said, the break and retest, right? It's very simple how it works. When you have a key level of resistance, right? Here we have a key level of resistance, and this is where sellers are stepping in, right? This is where sellers want to hold the stock below. Now, if we get a break above this key level, and once again, this is a key level, if we get a break above, what does that show us? What does it show us when we get a break above a key level? It shows us that there is more demand in this stock than sellers, right? There's more demand than supply. If there's more demand than supply on a stock, what does that mean? If there is more demand on a stock than supply, what does that mean? Where should that stock continue? Where should that stock continue? Yes, it should continue to the upside. Correct. Now, we know, and if you've watched any of my videos before, we know that the stock doesn't have a 90-degree move up, right? Stocks don't just continuously move to the upside. We do have some sort of pullback. And this pullback is what we want to take advantage of, okay? Because truthfully for myself, right, I've been someone that is a breakout trader. I've tried to be a breakout trader, but the risk to reward in breakout trading doesn't make sense to me. Right? It doesn't make sense to me. Only if a stock is very, very strong will I ever take a breakout trade, if you guys have seen my videos. However, for myself, I like very, very low risk trades with high reward. Okay? Me personally, low risk with high reward is where the money's at. And so with the break and retest, when we see this exhaustion right here, this is the retest or the indecision that we want to enter on, because this will give us the lowest risk trade for the most highest reward. Okay. Now, can anyone in the chat tell me why this works? Why does this line right here or this key level work for the break and retest, right? Why does this system even work? Does anyone know the reasoning behind it, right? Because a lot of people will tell you a system or a strategy, but they don't know why it works themselves, right? They have no clue why it works. So do you guys know why the break and retest actually works? What's the actual reason people or buyers are stepping up on this level, and what makes the strategy profitable? Pending orders, liquidity, stop loss hunts, unfilled orders, equilibrium, liquidity, key levels of liquidity. Exactly, right? So the reason that we come back into this indecision is because we know that, okay, buyers brought it up above this previous resistance. However, this resistance will now turn into support because buyers know, okay, this was a previous level of resistance. We had 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch. And then when we broke above, this is when the buyer stepped in. So they know they have to buy the stock here. Okay, they know if the stock wants any continuation in trend, they need to buy the indecision here for the lowest risk trade, but the highest reward at the same time. Okay, so that's in the most simple way how the break and retest works. It works based off of understanding where buyers and sellers are. Now, with this being said, everything that I will talk about in today's session will be revolving around this one system. It will be revolving around this one strategy. Okay, because to start making consistent profits in the market, you need to choose one strategy. That's it. All you need to choose is one strategy that you personally align with. And when I talk about alignment, all I'm simply saying is you need to find one strategy that you yourself really want, you think that you can trade, because everyone has a different psychology. For example, there may be some people in this chat, right? And they see this consolidation right here, and they want to trade the consolidation, right? They want to buy the support for a move back up into high of day. Why? Because they know it's very, very low risk. They know that the risk there is very small and the reward is decent, right? Whereas for a break and retest trader, you need to understand the reason we're entering here is because, once again, we're not breakout traders. We're not that aggressive. But for myself, this is literally the best entry on the chart. This is going to be the lowest risk and the reward isn't fixed. With range trading, the reward is fixed, right? You're going to get most likely a 1-of-1 trade, meaning if you're risking $100 right? You're only going to make $100 of profit. Whereas with the break and retest, if you're risking $100, maybe at your high of day skill, you make $100, right? But if the stock keeps the momentum up, you could make $500, $1,000, and much more with continuation. Okay. And so that's why the strategy or the setup that you trade is very, very important. In this session, we will be talking about 5 specific setups. The setups that we will be talking about in this session will be the first candle BNR, the previous day high and the previous day low BNR, the pre-market high and pre-market low, the one candle BNR, and the key level BNR. And we're not just going to be talking about this, we're going to be pairing it with real examples so you guys can see. And all the examples that I talk about today, I will show you real proof that we've taken those trades. And on top of that, I will show you the exact thought process behind everything. So if you guys are ready for that, let's get some likes. Let's get some likes on this stream. We have 470 likes. Let's see if we can get up to 1,000 likes if you guys are ready for this. Let's see. Let's get some W's in the chat as well. Are you guys ready for this? Let's get some W's and let's get some likes in this chat. I want to see how many people are ready for this and how many people are actually paying attention, right? It's important to see how many people are paying attention. Wow, I said that my own PC froze. Okay, awesome. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's talk about the first one that everyone knows, right? I want to start off very basic because I know a lot of you guys, if you've seen my channel at this point, you guys have seen this. So I want to start off very, very basic. Bro thinks he's Kyson. Come on, guys. Okay, one candle tells all. So instead of focusing on the full range, right? Because how many people, right, come into the day and when you don't have a plan, it's actually very difficult to focus on something, right? It's very difficult when you don't have a plan to focus on something. So how many of you guys have traded before where you simply just kind of see a trend developing, right? You may see this kind of opening price right here and you see the stock making a high. So you kind of just enter in on a random pullback, considering it's a break and retest, looking for a move to the upside. How many people have done that, right? Type me in the chat if you've done that, where you're just taking random break and retest setups in hope that they work out, right? Because you're focusing on too much of the range. And this is where you lose money. You lose money when you focus on too much range. You need to focus and you need to keep your trading extremely, extremely simple. Okay. And to do this, what I'm going to be talking about today is the first candle of the market session. So what is the market session? This is a question I get so much on YouTube and I try to explain it in my videos, but every time, every new video I come out with, people are like, what market are you trading? Guys, I trade the New York session, okay? Which means that I'm trading from about 9:30 a.m. Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern. So when we trade on Tuesday live in front of you guys, most likely I'll be starting up the stream at around 8:30 a.m. to actually stream live in front of you. Okay, because I want to show you guys the pre-market, exactly how to build your system. Like I'll show you guys everything over these next 3 days. Trust me, I think over the next 3 days, you guys will see the amount of value that we have coming up, to be honest. But with this being said, there's a lot of different market hours, right? But what we want to trade is from 9:30, okay, 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. Why do we want to trade this? Because this is when the most volume in the markets are, right? If you're trading options, futures, Forex, whatever it may be, 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern is what I personally recommend. And that's where a lot of the traders that I also teach, they also trade that 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Okay? Now, with this being said, the 9:30 a.m. candle is what we're going to be looking for, right? So the first step for this strategy is to mark out the high and the low of the first 5 minutes. I know a lot of you guys, if you do know the strategy, don't worry. We're going to be talking about more setups as well. I'm not just going over this one, but I want to start off very basic. Okay. So to mark out the first 5 minutes, we're just going to be on the 5-minute chart and we're going to mark out the high and we're going to mark out the low. That's it. Right? That's literally the 2 levels that we need. It's that simple. Do not mark out anything else on the chart. Just mark out the 5-minute high and mark out the 5-minute low. Okay. And this candle, once again, is from 9:30 a.m. Eastern, right, to 9:35 a.m. Eastern. With this being said, after this, we wait for a 5-minute candle closure, right? And this depends on strength, obviously. I want to make it very simple for everyone. close above this range right here. Now, with this being, oh, did I freeze? Did I freeze? Are we good? Are we good? Is it back? Are we good? Am I frozen? It's back. Refresh the screen maybe. Are we back? All right, we good? You know what's funny? I love how impatient traders are. Like, I actually love how impatient. It's like, I'm not gonna lie, we didn't really have a patience slide for day 2. We're gonna be going over mindset stuff and stuff like that. We didn't have as many mindset slides, but bro, I'm gonna today I'm coming back with a patience slide tomorrow. You guys need to learn some patience, man. Okay, so with this being said, now we're waiting for the 5-minute candle to close above the 5-minute high, right? And after that, all we're looking for is the 1 minute. Okay, so we go to the 1 minute and we look for the retest entry for continuation. Okay, so what that means is we wait for the 5-minute high to close. Then the 1 minute is what we're looking for the retest for a move back to the upside. Does this seem simple enough? Does this seem simple enough? 5-minute, wait for the 5-minute candle, then wait for the 5-minute high to close, and then look for the 1 minute retest. Is this simple enough? Yes, yes. I will. Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. Okay, now with this being said, entries and stops, we want to make this extremely simple. We want to make entries and stops the most simple thing you've ever seen, okay? We do not want to overcomplicate this, okay? How do we make our entries and stops? So when we enter into the 1 minute candle here for the retest on the 5-minute high, our stop loss is simply going to be a break below this level. Okay, so there's 2 ways, right? One is either we can put our stop loss at the break of the candle. Okay, so you see how this big impulsive candle is technically the candle on the 1 minute that broke this level. Okay, so we can put our stop loss at a break of this, and this is very repeatable. Everyone can do this, right? Just put it there. That's your stop loss. Or you can simply put your stop loss right below the 5-minute low right here, right? So simply just have your stop loss right here. Those are the 2 ways. One is, of course, a little bit more aggressive, which is this first one. The second one is a little bit more conservative. That just depends on once again, what type of trader you are, okay? So if you're a trader that's very, very aggressive, then obviously first one's for you. If you're a trader that's a little bit more conservative, you want your trade to play out, second one's for you, okay? Now, with this being said, where would our targets be? Our targets are always going to be at that 2R multiple, okay? What does 2R mean? 2R simply means if we're risking $100, we're going to be looking for $200 of profit. That's at a minimum. If we're risking $100, we're going to be looking at $200 of profit. Now, what this means is a lot of people get confused. That doesn't just mean just go randomly look for 2R, right? You want to look for 2R, but also look for key levels, okay? And we're going to be going over the key levels in a second here, right? So don't worry, we're going to be going over the key levels and how to find the key levels. But the 2R simply means that, the 2R simply means that you're risking $100 for $200, and then we need to look for key levels around the 2R, okay? Now, with this being said, like I said, I was going to go over some real examples for you guys, right? Because I want to actually show you guys that this is actually happening. So some real examples here. This is a $25,000 trade on Tesla, right? $25,000 on Tesla. And once again, this trade was taken live, right? And what was the setup here? Let's kind of break down this trade because I was able to capture this entire trade, right? This entire trade was captured on Tesla. So I want to show you guys exactly how it was captured. Okay. So what did I do? Right? Once again, I want to go back just so you guys can see this example. You can screenshot this example if you really want, right? Just so when we go to the next kind of slides, you guys can kind of have them on a second screen. But with that being said, what happened? Well, we have the 5-minute high here and we have the 5-minute low. I simply marked that out and then I waited for the 5-minute candle to hold above the key level, okay? So notice how this one kind of faked out, right? So we had that fake out 5-minute candle. If you're on the 1 minute, this may have even potentially closed above, right? But this is why that extra confirmation can sometimes be good. And this is why I wait for that 5-minute candle, especially when the confirmation isn't as clear, to close above the key level, okay? Once I waited for the 5-minute candle to close above the key level, all I did was come back to the 1 minute time frame and look for the retest. So you can see the 5-minute candle right here, right? Breaking above. We come back for the retest. We see strong price action here, right? Buyers are stepping in. That's that lower wick, which buyers are stepping in right here. This is where we would enter our stop loss once again at the break of this kind of structure right here, and our profit targets 2R or just continuation. In this example, we had a lot of continuation, so we were able to ride this trade very, very nicely to the upside. Okay. Now, with this being said, this is the exact executions for this trade. Once again, you guys can see $25,000. You can see where we entered. You can also see the scales here all the way through, right? All the way through, you guys can see the scales, right? And once again, the reason I'm showing you this plus broker statements, right? So you can see this is on the actual real broker. This is IBKR, right? On IBKR, you can see exactly where I scaled in, where I scaled out, $25,000 trade there, right? And this trade was once again taken live in front of literally hundreds of traders, right? So there was nothing there that could have been faked or, manipulated after the fact. This exact trade was taken live in front of hundreds and hundreds of traders, right? So does that setup make sense to you guys? Does the 5-minute setup make sense to you guys? I even see someone saying in the chat, yep, we were all there. So that's awesome to see. But does that setup make sense to you guys? Right? Is it simple enough to follow? Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yes. I see someone saying yes, but sometimes it doesn't work. Guys, I'm not promising you 100% strategy. There is not a single strategy, and I will tell you guys this right now. There is not a single strategy, and if someone tells you there is, they're lying to you or whatever. There is not a single strategy that has 100% win rate. Not a single one, okay? Our strategy, I'll be honest, in August had like a 97% win rate, right? Overall with the break and retest system. Right? But that doesn't mean that every single month is like that, right? On average, this strategy may have a 60 to 70% win rate, but some months are higher, some months are lower. That's the reality of trading. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for you guys. I said that already, right? With this being said, let's go over to the next setup now, okay? So next setup is the previous day high and the previous day low retest. Does anyone know how the previous day high and previous day low retest works? Do you guys know how the previous day high and the previous day low retest works? Right? I want to make sure you guys understand the 5-minute high and low retest, right? To make it very simple. And now we can get into the previous day high and low, right? How many of you guys know? I see some no's in the chat. I see a lot of yeses. I see some no's. I kind of understand. Okay. So let's go over the previous day high and previous day low. Okay. So very similar to what we already talked about, right? Most people focus on the full range. Remember I said most people focus on the full range. Most people focus on the full range, right? Now for us, how can we focus on the full range, but still keep it simple? Remember, the first time we were talking about it, right, it was simply the 5-minute high and low retest, right? So the first time we were talking about it, all we were waiting for was a 5-minute high break. You can see the break here, the retest, and continuation. You can see even in this example, the 5-minute high retest worked perfectly, right? But what if we want to take a higher time frame trade? Or what if we want to take a trade with more confirmation? Okay. That means we now have to look for a higher time frame setup, right? And this is where the previous day high and the previous day low come in, right? So what's the reasoning behind focusing on the previous day high and low strategy? Well, now we know pre-market and after hours is where the least amount of volume and transaction happen, right? We know pre-market and after hours is where the least amount of transactions happen. And therefore that New York open high and the New York open low, right? From 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. is where the most volume is. Of course, in this session, the first 5 minutes is where the most volume is in the actual session itself. Okay. However, in the actual full grand scheme of things, it is going to be from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern where the most volume is. Correct? Right? That makes sense, hopefully. So understanding this, we need to now understand in the daily chart, there's so many different time frames that we can be looking for, right? Even here, we have the 15-minute chart, right? What time frame do a lot of you guys trade on? Do you guys trade on the 15-minute? Do you guys trade on the 5-minute, the 1-minute? What time frame do you guys trade on? Let me see what type of time frame traders you guys are. What time frame do you guys trade on? See some 15, 5, 1 minute. A lot of 1 minute. I trade on the 1 minute and 5 minute myself. 1 minute, 5 minute. Okay. Someone said 1 second. Bro, if you can trade on the 1 second, kudos to you. That's something I can't do. 5 minute, 1 minute. Okay, awesome. So there's a lot of different time frames, right? But the reality is most people, right, they're most likely going to be on the 1 minute, 5 minute, especially when you're scalping trades, right? But because you're on the 1 minute and 5 minute, what happens and what usually ends up happening is so many people just get caught up, right? They literally just get caught up looking for the same thing over and over again, right? Which is the 1 minute break and retest, but they don't look at what's going on the higher time frame. And this also, once again, ruins kind of their setup, right? So for us, what we're going to do is mark out the daily high and we're going to mark out the daily low. With this being said, there's going to be two setups that we can now trade. One is the previous day high retest, right? So all we're waiting for, similar to the break and retest that I talked about earlier with the 5 minute opening range, right, is a break above, a retest of this level, and continuation. Okay, that is simply all we're waiting for. The second one is a break below, a retest of the previous day low, and continuation to the downside. Is that simple enough? Is that simple enough to you guys? Is that simple, right? All we're waiting for is a break above and break below. Make sense? Anything in between this range, right? Anything in between this range, we don't want to trade. Okay, why? Because it's going to be a little bit more choppy. Obviously, we have our 5 minute setup that we can trade intraday, which we'll talk about, right? However, when we're trading the previous day high and previous day low, we make it very, very simple. Okay, we make it very, very simple. Now, there's also the reversal of the previous day high and previous day low, which is the break above, retest, continuation, looking for the downside, reversal, once again, retest on the downside, which is a little bit more complicated, and we'll get into that more so on day 3. We'll talk about the more complicated setups and the strategies, which, by the way, I'm going to make it very easy for you guys to understand all 3 days. That's why we're starting out so, kind of easy, and, I want to make sure you guys understand the system itself. But all the ones that are a little bit more complicated, we'll talk more so on day 2 and day 3, okay? Specifically, day 3 will be live trading, so this will make much more sense to you guys as well, okay? Now, with this being said, using this previous day high and low strategy, right? This was on Tesla August 22nd. You guys can go back to my Twitter if you guys want to see these results as well. Or once again, I have the live trading session all on Discord, but $24,000. Okay, this was a $24,000 trade using the previous day high and low. Right? You can see what happened, right? We'll go into a little bit more detail here in a second here, right? But we marked out the previous day high right here. We came back for the retest when buyers stepped up, entered in, looking for continuation, and look at how strong this name was. Just look at how strong this name was to the upside, okay? And once again, you have people in the chat saying, I was there for this trade too, right? A lot of people, once again, you're going to see, there's going to be a lot of people in the chat that were there for this trade with us live. So how were we able to do this, right? For this trade, and this, once again, any setup and strategy that I'm talking about, by the way, guys, this works for Forex, options, crypto, stocks, everything. Okay, so mark out for the first step for this one, right? What we're going to do is we're simply going to mark out the previous day high, which is once again 9:30, okay, to 4 p.m., right? Excuse my handwriting, right? 9:30 to 4 p.m. And all we're going to do is mark out the previous day high and the previous day low. Once we have these levels marked out, these are the only levels that we're going to be looking for a break above or a break below, like I explained. Okay, this is the 5 minute time frame, by the way. This is the 5 minute time frame. With this being said, once we get the break above, do we know what to do now? Right now, look, we get the break above. We get the break above the previous day high. Do you guys know what to do after you get the break? Do we just blindly buy? Are we blindly buying into the breakout? Are we blindly buying into the breakout? Yes or no? Are we blindly buying into the breakout? No, wait for the retest. Okay, so some of you guys were paying attention. That's good, right? Some of you guys were paying attention. No. Awesome, right? So now we're going to be looking for the retest. So what we want to see now is simply sellers come in, right? Remember that break and retest system that I showed you guys earlier on how everything kind of revolves around the break and retest system, right? I explained that to you guys earlier. Look at what happened, right? You see buyers trying to break the stock up, but sellers are stepping in. We then see buyers finally break the stock above, right? And then we're looking simply for the retest for continuation back to the upside, right? Very simple what we're looking for, right? And this is exactly that exhaustion move, right? So this is the breakout move. And so this would be the exhaustion move that I explained in the first the first system slide that we had, right? So with this being said, once we got that retest, right, you need to see strong price action. Here you can see a very strong impulsive green candle being added, right? You guys see that green candle being added? Once we see that, our stop loss is simply a break, like I said, of the impulsive candle that broke above this key level with profit targets of at least 2R, right? In this example, I believe this was almost a 9R or 10R trade, right? Which means for every basically $100 that I was risking, I was making $1,000 on the last trailers that I had. Right? Does that not sound like that's a pretty good, risk to reward to me, right? So 2 to 1 was just simply to high of day, but where this ended up going, this was a 9 to 10R, right? So if I was risking $100 on this trade, I was making $1,000 per the final trailers that I was selling, of course, right? That's not the full position. I don't want you guys to, think that's a full position, and each $100 that I was risking, I was making $1,000. But on the final trailers, which is usually 10 to 20 contracts, right, I was making that much. Okay. And once again, I want to make sure you guys understand exactly how this works. So look at the time, the timestamps here as well. Okay, 9:43 a.m. This is at 9:43 a.m. Eastern time, right? I said Tesla previous day high hit. Now we can either wait for the one candle rule retest, which we'll talk about. Okay, we'll talk about this setup in a second here, or we wait for the break above high of day and retest at 9:45. This is 2 minutes later. We then look for the break above. And look at what my chart had, right? I'm looking for the break above and the retest back into that previous day high. Once we come back into that previous day high, this is at 9:47. Once again, timestamps are there, right? You can see need buyers to step in. I'm waiting for Tesla buyers to step in. And then right after it, you can see I took Tesla 325 calls. Tesla 325 calls for a move to the upside. And once again, this trade, look what happened. We had a nice retest. Buyer stepped in. I entered into this trade. I was out 80% right at highs. Okay. I was out 80% at highs. And this was a $13,000 trade in 30 minutes. $13,000 trade in 30 minutes, right? By simply understanding the previous day high and the previous day low strategy. But here's the thing. It doesn't end there, right? Because look, I still have those 20 contracts. You guys have to remember, I still have those 20 contracts. This one moved to the upside. We come back, and on this retest, this is where Tesla needs to kind of hold this level, right? So you can see I actually typed out Tesla. Should be back in a second here. Check, check, check. Are we back? 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 If we're frozen, just reload the screen. We should be back though. If we're frozen, reload the screen. If we're frozen, just reload, okay? If you're frozen, just reload the screen, okay? Just reload YouTube, okay? So with this being said, remember, in about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, right, I made about $13,000. But I know that Tesla, the market structure hasn't broken. And therefore, my stop loss is still my entry. And that's exactly what I was explaining, okay? I was explaining that my stop loss is still my entry. And what happened? Right off of the previous day high level, remember, we entered off the previous day high level, right off that previous day high level, exactly where my stop loss was, Tesla bounced aggressively. And you guys can see these timestamps as well, 10 o'clock, 10:01, 10:03, right? Look at how aggressively this thing moved from the previous day high all the way back up into previous highs. This was an insane move, and we were able to capture it, right? And once again, there was hundreds of people watching this trade live at the same time. We were able to capture this trade, right, for $24,000, right? 10 contracts left. I still had 10 contracts left at that point, right? And you can see we actually ended up breaking above the previous day highs, and I was still in. And this was a $24,000 trade. Okay. And once again, and I said this in the Discord as well, calling it a day here. This was when I was having my perfect August. So at this point, I had like 100% win rate in August, which I'm not saying happens a lot. By the way, I want to make it very clear, but that's just what was happening. All the trades were taken live. And the best part is you guys can see everything with full transparency. Once again, all of these are taking live. Okay. So with this being said, and on top of that, actually, a bunch of people took this, actually, before I get into the next one, right? First 1K day, right? Tesla calls right here, 3,200. Join the accelerator, 12%, right? Once again, just so many people took it, 1398, so many people, right? But with that being said, does this setup make sense to you guys? Does the previous day high and low setup make sense? Do you guys see how I was able to implement it in my own strategy as well? And do you guys see the system kind of being a little bit more clear for you guys now? Type yes in the chat. Before I could even say, you guys spam the chat with yes. Yes, yes, yes. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Look at that. Okay, awesome. So with this being said, this was the Tesla setup. This was a very, very simple kind of setup that we took, right? And this was all taken, once again, live. Next setup. For the last two, very simple, right? We come into the day, we have our key levels, we mark them out, we look for the retest, we look for continuation. Very simple for the last two. Now, let's talk about the one candle rule. How many of you guys in this chat know the one candle rule? Type yes in the chat. Type yes in the chat if you've ever heard the one candle rule. You should have. If you watch my YouTube, you should know the one candle rule. Yes, yes, yes. Some of you guys are saying no. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, awesome. So what is the one candle rule, right? So when we're looking at price, okay, let's say we have a previous day high level, right? Because some of you guys are going to ask me, let's make it even more simple, right? Let's just say we have a candle here and this is the 5-minute high candle, okay? So let's just say this candle here is our 5-minute high, right? Now, what happens when the stock breaks above but never comes for the retest, right? This thing just keeps moving to the upside, just aggressive move to the upside. What do? Do we panic buy this, right? Do we buy this and just hopefully hold and say, hopefully this keeps continuing to the upside? What do we do for this trade, right? What would you guys do? If the trade doesn't come back for the break and retest, which a lot of you guys have already asked me, right? If the trade doesn't come back for the break and retest, what happens? So what would you guys do in a scenario like this? Someone said, chase it. Nothing, wait, switch to 1 minute, no entry, blindly enter and lose, blindly enter and lose. Some of you guys got jokes. Wait for the candle, no trade. Okay, so here's the thing. That happens sometimes, right? Sometimes the 5-minute high break may just break and move to the upside too aggressively, right? Same thing with the previous day high, right? We have the previous day high and low candle. This thing may move and just not retest. So luckily for us, right, we have a setup that we can use in this, right? We have a setup that we can use that will help us catch these trades even if we don't have the break and retest of the previous day high or the 5-minute high. Now, how would we do this? Well, first of all, to understand this, we need to understand how candlesticks actually move, right? So when a stock is moving to the downside, right, it's obviously putting in red candles. Now, does that mean when the stock is moving to the downside, it's going to put in red candles the whole time? No, right? When a stock is moving to the downside, it's not going to put in down close candles the entire time, okay? The stock will at one point eventually put in a green candle, right? So once again, if it's coming to the downside, it'll put in a little bit of green candle, right? And then it'll continue to the downside, right? Vice versa to the upside, right? When a stock is moving to the upside, it will have a red candle, right? Moving it back down, and then it'll have continuation back to the upside. So when we get this red candle, what does this signify? You guys have to understand what it means to get a red candle. What was the correlation between buyers and sellers? It's very important to understand that. So does anyone in the chat know what is the correlation for buyers and sellers when we get a red or green candle? In this example here, let's just use the uptrend, right? So if we're in an uptrend and we see a red candle, what happened there? What happened there? Right? Let's kind of reveal the curtain on what's going on behind the scenes of the candlestick forming. Pullback, taking profits, a little bit of correction, right? So what's happening here is when you pull back, this is when sellers are stepping in, right? So you get a red candle and this is when the sellers are stepping in. And so let's say we have this kind of move to the upside, right? We're moving to the upside here, right? We get this red candle. Technically, we'd actually move up like this, right? And then we get this red candle, right? And then we kind of move back to the. So we understand that red candle is where sellers were in control. That's where the sellers were active, right? So there is selling liquidity. There is selling liquidity at this level, right? At this candle, there is selling liquidity. Makes sense. Okay. So for us, what we need to understand, because we understand that there's selling liquidity here, is we need the stock to now break back above the red candle, proving that buyers are stepping up. And this down closer red candle is now going to be used as support. So remember when I was talking about simple support and resistance, right? You guys know simple support and resistance up here, right? This is resistance. This is support, right? Buyers come in, sellers come in, buyers come in, sellers come in. It's the same thing with the red candles, right? With the green candle, right? Green candle to the upside, that's buyers stepping in. For a red candle to the downside, that's sellers stepping in. So same thing with price action, right? When you get this red candle, this now turns into that previous resistance into support, right? And this will make much more sense when we actually get into the real examples as well. Okay, I'm just trying to explain the behind the scenes of why everything works. Okay, that's what I'm trying to show you. Once again, for red candles, this is going to be the most weak one, right? This is a full body red candle to the downside. These ones have a little bit of wicks, so they're not going to be as weak, right? Or as strong, I guess, okay? But we want to make sure that this is kind of, you understand which way the down close candles are forming, right? Now, when we look at it in the real charts, how can we actually use it? The way we use the one candle rule in the real charts is simply by marking out the previous down close candles, right? Does that make sense? So when we have, let's say, for example, here, right? This high down here, we have the 5-minute high technically right here. Okay, we have the 5-minute high and we have the 5-minute low, right? So you have the 5-minute high right here and you have the 5-minute low right here. Now, with this 5-minute high and 5-minute low, you can see there was a down close candle right here, right? This was the highest, and it's very important to remember, you want the highest down close candle for an uptrend. So because we have this highest down close candle, this is where buyers need to essentially hold the stock above, right? If we're going to retest. So you can see we break above, look where we get the retest, right? This was an immediate, right? This was an immediate retest, but it essentially holds, it breaks below the 5-minute high a little bit, right? But we hold this one candle rule for a move all the way back to the upside, right? And you can see this example being played out multiple times. In this example here, right, you can see this one candle rule right there, right? Once again, I want to make this clear. You see this red candle right here. This is where the buyers need to hold. You can see if we mark out the high to the low, look, buyers come or sellers step in. This is the exhaustion move. This is where we need to see buyers on this candle. This is where you would enter for a move back to the upside. And you can see this one works very, very well. Okay. So once again, if you're a little bit confused, don't worry. I know this one's a little bit more complicated than the other ones. I'm still going to make it very, very simple. I'm just trying to explain it. And then when we get into the real examples, it'll make much more sense. Okay. So don't worry. Now, with this being said, up close candle, same thing, right? The most strong up close candle is going to be a full bullish up close candle. Okay, so this is going to be the high and low. This simply means that the candle opened up here and buyers brought it all the way up here. There wasn't a single wick here, right? Same thing with this one, right? We opened it up here. Sellers try to bring it down. Buyers brought it all the way up into the highs and we ended up closing it here. Same thing with this one. We opened up here, right? Sellers bring it all the way down, but buyers bring it all the way back up into highs. Right? So once again, highest probability to lowest probability. With this being said, for the up close candles, we use that for a downtrend. So when I say this, right, I want to make one thing very clear. Up close candles, right? Let me make this clear. For the upside, right? So up close candles, which is green, the green candle, up close, right? You only use up close for the downside move, okay? Vice versa, the downside candle, okay? So the down close, you only use that for an upside move. So the down close candle is for the upside and the up close candle is for the downside. Make sense? Want to make that clear. So when we're looking at the up close candles in the downtrend, what we want to be looking for is simply the retest of that. Okay. So you can see here, this is an up close candle, right? You guys can see we're moving. This is obviously a bearish trend to the downside. However, you see this bearish candle right here. So what we can do is mark out the high to the low, right? The high to the low of the body, and we simply drag it out. Now, when we see this, look at where the price retested, right? The price literally came right back into this kind of low right here for continuation to the downside, right? And this didn't happen just one time. You can see this is the 5-minute low right here, right? And you can see where did price come back to retest? It came back to retest this up close candle for a move to the downside. Okay, so with that being said, using this one candle rule, this is the exact reason I had one of my biggest days of the year so far. Does anyone remember this Tesla trade that I took on the 12th? Does anyone remember the Tesla trade that I took on the 12th? If you guys have been following me on Instagram or Twitter, you guys have most likely seen this, right? Where this one was simply all I had to do was to do was mark out the one candle. It's coming back. Give it a second here. Should be back. We should be back. Should be back. Once again, if it's frozen, just refresh the page. If it's frozen, refresh the page. With this being said, I want to now break down exactly what we saw. Okay. So you can see here, what happened was Tesla, I was actually waiting for the first 5-minute high, right? So I actually marked out the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? I actually marked out this high and this is the retest I was looking for, right? Funny enough, right? So I was looking for the 5-minute high retest for a move to the upside. What happened? Buyers brought this one up so aggressively that there was no 5-minute high retest. So now I know, okay, there's no 5-minute high retest. There's only up close candles. What does that mean? When there's only up close candles, there's no retest. That means that the only candle that we can be using, or the only setup for the break and retest, is going to be, is going to be this one candle rule. This is the only down close candle. This is the only down close candle of the entire day, right? So that shows me that buyers, if we are going to step up or if we're going to pull back, it is going to be the only one down close candle, okay? With this being said, all I had to do was wait for the stock to break above. You can then see the retest, right? Buyers come in. We know we have to be a little bit more aggressive, so we enter in on the retest. And look, all we had to do after that is once the buyer stepped in, we had to wait for our continuation to the upside. Our stop loss, right? Our stop loss for the one candle rule is always just going to be a break of the one candle rule, right? So it's even more simple than the previous day high and the previous day low, because this one it's the same thing every time. Our stop loss is simply just going to be a break of the one candle rule. That simple. Okay. Does this one make sense to you guys? Do you guys see how I use the one candle rule? Do you guys see how I use the one candle rule? Do you guys see exactly how to use the one candle rule? Does this make sense? Correct. All my entries are on the 1 minute time frame. The one candle rule I use is going to be on the 1 minute time frame. Correct. With this being said, let's kind of talk about the executions here, right? I want to make sure you guys understand the executions. You can see these are real-time executions that I had, once again, September 12th, right? And you can see September 12th at 9:38 a.m. Eastern. 9:38 a.m. Eastern. On Tesla for a day trade, I'm looking for the first pullback for an entry of relative strength, right? This was at 9:30 a.m. This was my game plan. You can see what happened. This is when Tesla was only showing those up-close candles. The retest that I marked out, like I said, I literally explained this to you guys, was the 5-minute high. Right? I was literally looking for the 5-minute high retest, but buyers were so strong that then I had to change my thesis into, okay, buyers are very strong. Tesla one candle rule retest. I'll be looking for the 377.50 calls, which is the contracts I was trading. And I'll be looking for highs up into 380s, right? And you can see I marked out the one candle rule or the down close candle there. That was the plan, of course. The entry, you guys can see right into our key level. We need buyers to step in here for new highs, first real pullback. And you can see right at 9:46, took the Tesla 377.50 calls, and then the key level hit within the next, like, basically minutes. Right after that, you can see at 9:53, this was at 9:46, 9:53. I had a Tesla swing open as well, by the way. So the day prior, I had a Tesla swing open, and the contracts moved 1,000%, which means for every $100 of risk, you basically make $1,000, which is insane. Right? Absolutely insane kind of move on those ones. And you can see from where I entered in, right, based off the one candle rule, this one just had straight continuation to the upside, right? Straight continuation to the upside. Now, with this being said, you can see this is straight from the broker. This was a $65,000 trade on top of a $23,000 swing, which makes the total day a $91,000 day. Right? $91,000 in a single day using this simple one candle rule retest. And once again, I want to make it so clear that you can't fake these results, right? Even if I was trying to fake these results, right? The main thing is, how are other people catching it with me, right? Literally, there was hundreds of people that caught this trade, exact same trade with me. Right? Because I was following the thought process, but most importantly, they know how I trade. They know the system I trade, right? They literally just understand, right? Tesla, once again, 45 minutes, $3,000, $17,000, $2,000, $10,000. And these are all on Tesla, right? $10,000 again, right? So it's very important to remember all of these trades are being caught live. There's nothing hindsight about these trades. And that's why it's important to listen to the system that I'm teaching. Okay, so does this one make sense to you guys? Does the one candle rule make sense? Does the live example make sense? And does it make sense on exactly how I'm executing these in real time as well? It's important that this makes sense to you guys, because if this makes sense to you guys, then when we go forward into the live examples, it will make even more sense, right? When we're actually on day 3, when I'm live trading in front of you guys will be like, oh, okay, I see what he's trading now, right? It won't just be you trying to signal bot me. That's not what the purpose of this is. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. Okay. Now, next setup. Now we're going to talk about one of the setups that I believe if you can master this setup, this is a very solid setup as well, right? It takes a little bit of work to master this one, right? But it's still a very solid setup. Now, this is going to be the pre-market high and the pre-market low retest. So what happens if we enter the day inside the previous day range? Right? So we can see we have the previous day high up here and we have the previous day low down here, right? Previous day high, and previous day low. Now, what if we open right in the middle of the day where it's not possible where we're going to break the previous day high, right? It's just not possible that we're going to break the previous day high. What happens? We then want to have a setup that we want to have a setup that we can trade in between, but we know there's a lot of noise, right? So this one, therefore, this is why I'm saying, and this is why I kind of left this one for last, right? We don't want to trade in between the range of the previous day high and previous day low. The only setup that we can do that with is going to be the pre-market high and the pre-market low, okay? With this being said, how do we mark that out? Do you guys know what pre-market high and pre-market low is? When the New York Stock Exchange opens, we know that is from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. These are active trading hours, okay? So from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern, these are active trading hours that we can trade every single day. Then we have after hours, right? For after hours, this doesn't really concern us too much because there's nothing in after hours that we need to be associating ourselves with, right? It's just low volume. We just don't want to be looking at that, okay? Then we have pre-market. Pre-market occurs from 4 a.m. Eastern to 9:30 a.m. Eastern, okay? 4 a.m. Eastern to 9:30 a.m. Eastern. So it's the exact opposite of this one right here, right? And what we want to do for this, because this is a pretty big range that we can mark out, we're simply going to mark out the high and low for this, okay? So the pre-market 4 a.m. Eastern to 9:30 a.m. Eastern, we're simply going to mark out the pre-market high and we're going to mark out the pre-market low. Now, the reason that these are more significant levels than anything else is because when you see buyers stepping in above pre-market high or pre-market low, right, this is where the continuation play may be, right? Because some traders may not look at the previous day high and previous day low, right? Some traders may not look at the previous day high and previous day low. Some traders may not look at higher time frame, right? There's traders that don't look at higher time frame. Or, and this is mostly when I trade pre-market high and low, right? The best time to trade pre-market high and low is usually when we have a big gap to the upside, right? So we gap up in the market, which means we open above the previous day high or we open below the previous day low, right? So I just want to mark that out for you guys. So we open above the previous day high or we open below the previous day low. And the most volume that will happen and where buyers are looking to step in because there's no other key levels, right? If we open above or below the previous day high and previous day low, what are the key levels? There's none other than the 5-minute high at that point, right? And so the levels that most buyers are going to be looking at is going to be the pre-market high and the pre-market low because it's the most recent areas of liquidity. It is the most recent areas of liquidity for pre-market high and pre-market low. Okay? So with this being said, now all we have to do is mark those out, look for the break and retest. You can see this retest happened right here. And then we look for continuation back to the upside, right? Is that simple enough? Do you guys understand that, right? All we're looking for is a break above. We're looking for the retest. We're looking for strong price action and then continuation. Once again, don't worry if you don't understand how to read, continuation patterns just yet, all that stuff. We're going to talk about that. We have 3 days, guys. Trust me. We'll talk about a lot more. Okay? Yes. Okay. Now, this was a trade that, once again, taken live, but $15,000 trade right here. Okay? $15,000 trade. This was September 16th. You can go back to my Twitter if you want, my Instagram, or in the Discord. Either one. There's a lot of proof for this one as well, right? And what happened? I simply marked out the pre-market high waited for the stock to break above, retest. This was an immediate retest and continuation to the upside. This was on Apple, right? So let's kind of break this down a little bit more further. I see some people saying in the chat they caught this one with me as well, which is fantastic to see, right? Now, pre-market high and pre-market low, all we're going to do is mark out those levels. Pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. Number two, we now need to wait for the candlestick to close. When we're waiting for candlestick closures, how many of you guys understand what candlestick closures are? How many of you guys understand what candlestick closures are? Type yes or no if you understand what candlestick closures are and why they are important. Most importantly, why they are important. Yes, no. I see some yeses. Okay. So when I'm talking about a candlestick closure, all I mean is if you guys look at this candle here, right? Notice how this first one, right? We had a candle move to the upside, okay? But this was only a wick. A wick is the line, right? So the line here is the wick. And there was the body, which is the shaded area, right? So any candle, the body is the shaded area, right? So this is the body, right? So when you have a wick right here and the body doesn't close above, that's not a candle closure above. A candle closure above is when the body or the shaded area closes above or below your key level. Okay, so you can see here the candle closure, we closed above the pre-market high. Okay, so once we close above the pre-market high, then all we're looking for is the retest. So all we're looking for is a break above, a retest of this level, and then continuation to the upside. And then we're simply just looking for our profit targets up there. Okay, so does that make sense to you guys? Right? Very simple how the pre-market high and the pre-market low system works. This is very similar to the 5-minute high as well, right? Some people are asking for the so it depends, right? So this one on Apple, we had to be a little bit more aggressive. So we actually waited for the 1 minute. Like I said, it depends. So when you're looking at the 5-minute candle closure, that typically means that you're going to be opening up in range. If you're looking for the 1 minute, that typically means that the stock is gapping up or gapping below. Okay. So with this being said, how were we able to capture this trade? Now, I want you guys to notice the timestamps here, right? This is very important. 9:24 a.m. Eastern time. 9:24 a.m. Eastern time. I wrote out here, once again, coming into the day, Apple, a break above 327.26 will be key. This one is in range, so if we break above, it looks good. You guys can see Apple, this is actually on the 1 hour time frame here, okay? And this was the 237.26 level that I'm talking about is a high level. Okay, so if we broke above the pre-market high level, that's what I was interested in. Once again, this is at 9:24 a.m. Eastern. The market opens at 9:30. This was like 6 minutes before, just kind of laying out my plan. And then once again, laying out that plan intraday, you can see the candle didn't close. So I was just marking out Apple. What I want is a break above and a retest. You can see Apple, in step two, I basically say if Apple closes strong, 237.50 calls in play. You can see we broke above, immediate retest there, right? Very strong on Apple, immediate retest, candle closure above, immediate retest. We enter in when buyers step in. We enter in on the green candle where buyers step in, and then we took the 237 calls for Apple, high of day and continuation. You can see right into our key level, took my first scales on Apple once we got that big high of day pop right there, right? And if we actually done the move over, this was once again all done live. You can see how far Apple moved. This one had a very vertical move from the previous day high. I had 20 contracts left, and this was about $15,000, right? $15,000 on this by just simply understanding the pre-market high and low, right? And once again, you can see this one. Look at how nice of a move this happened, right? We have a break above, right? We have the retest. Our stop loss is the candle closure, right? Simply a candle closure below the candle that actually broke above. And we're looking for continuation back to the upside. Okay, so does this one make sense to you guys? Does this make sense to you guys? Do you guys see exactly how I was able to execute this trade? Do you guys see exactly how I was able to execute this trade on Apple? Yes. Right, so now I've essentially given you guys multiple different setups that you can trade. Right now, the reason I'm giving you multiple setups is because I want you to go and see what setup works the best for you, right? What setup works for you? For if you're trading futures, right? It may be the 5-minute high and low that you want to trade. If you're trading options, it may be the previous day high and low you want to trade, right? There's a lot of different setups, so you need to understand which one works best for you. And so once again, with this Apple trade, you can see a lot of people took this one. At this point, I don't even have to show you guys. You guys already know that these trades were taken live in real time, $2,000, $3,000, $8,000, whatever it may be. So far in today's session, remember, this is only day one. This is only kind of the tip of the iceberg, right? But so far, knowing what you know today, right? So knowing what you've learned today, do you feel more confident in your trading ability? Do you feel more confident in your trading ability knowing what you know today and the setups that we've talked about? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, let me ask you something else. Are you happy that you showed up today and learned everything we went over? I know some of you guys were not happy when the stream crashed earlier. I know some of you guys were not happy when the stream crashed earlier, but are you happy that you showed up and learned everything that we went over today? Yes, yes, yes. And most importantly, do you realize the advantage you have now when you're trading by using a simple strategy? Do you guys understand the advantage we now have by simply understanding how to trade these setups? Yes, yes, yes. Perfect, right? And can you guys see yourself using what we covered today? Right? This is the most important technically, because if you can't see yourself using what we covered today, then really there's no purpose of learning this, right? Because we want to implement it. The whole point of this is to implement it. And I want you guys to actually see yourself being able to use the setups that we're talking about. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, perfect. So even if my whole thing from today is, even if you can implement one thing, right? Even if you can implement one thing that you've learned today, one thing, that's literally all I'm asking for. If you can implement one thing in your own trading and you can become a better trader based off of that, I kind of did my job, right? If I was able to teach you something today and you're able to take one thing and apply that into your own trading, you'll be 10x better going into the future. Okay? So with that being said, that's going to conclude day one. I wanted to keep day one simple, short, and concise. I wanted to keep day one super simple, super short, and super, super concise. Now, that's it. Okay. Remember, tomorrow for day two, it will be at 12, same time as today, right? For tomorrow. And remember, for tomorrow, just make sure you're checking your emails and make sure you're checking either my Instagram story as well. So Instagram story and emails, just to make sure that you guys are, caught up with everything that we're going to talk about. But tomorrow we're going to be diving much, much, much deeper into the concepts and the strategy behind everything, the foundation behind everything. And then remember, most of you guys are going to want to ensure that you have tomorrow off and Tuesday, because we will be live day trading, right? Live day trading in front of you guys on Tuesday. Okay. And once again, for the giveaway, that will all happen on Tuesday as well, right? Which is day 3. Okay. So were you guys able to get something out of today? Are you guys happy with everything? Tony's Cheating Gems, Scarface is goated. Appreciate it, guys. Awesome. So now I'm going to answer like quick questions. I want to answer questions for only around like 5 to 10 minutes, right? And then because I need to get prepared for tomorrow, because the information I will teach you tomorrow will genuinely change your trading. Okay. I wanted to make sure everything is very simple for you guys right off the bat, but the information I will teach you tomorrow will genuinely change your trading. And I truly believe that. Okay. So I need to get prepared for tomorrow. I'm going to spend all day today getting prepared for tomorrow's class as well. Okay. So just before I go, I want to answer some quick questions. Okay. And then we'll get into tomorrow as well. Okay. So let me start answering some questions here, and make sure, once again, tomorrow that's going to be at the same time as it was today. Today we had a little bit of technical issues, but let's see. On the pre-market high strategy, how do you choose the stocks to trade every day? What is the process? So a lot of you guys ask me, how do I actually choose the stock that I'm trading every day? How do I find the stocks that are running? A lot of you guys seeing the stocks that we chose, right? $20,000, $50,000, $100,000. The way I choose my stocks, I will teach you guys tomorrow. That is fully what I will be teaching tomorrow is how I choose the stocks, which way you can actually look for what is going to be high probability trades, how to avoid losing trades and low probability trades. And we're going to be going much, much more deeper into the actual fundamentals of what it takes to be a trader. And we're going to be going into more system-based, because what I taught you today is simply the surface-based information, right? This is the surface-based information that, using even the information that I taught you today, you can see consistency in your trading. But over the next 3 days is what's truly going to turn you into a profitable trader. Okay. Each session, I don't know how long each session should be. It depends, right? Because the live trading may be a little bit longer, right? This one was about an hour and a half, something like that. You did not talk about the key levels. That's because I'm saving that one for tomorrow, correct? I am saving that one for tomorrow. What is the worst setup? The setups depend, right? So each market has different setups. That's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow as well, is which setup is the best for which market. I have 7 years of data. I have 7 years of data that I can show you guys. And so tomorrow I will be showing you that 7 years of data and showing you which actually works, which setup works during which times, and what is the best. So therefore, it will get rid of all the second guessing and, the guesswork out of your trading. Okay? So with this being said, we will have a full dedicated Q&A session after the live trading on day 3. So I'm going to answer all your questions on day 3 as well. So don't worry if your question wasn't answered today. All your questions will be answered on day 3 and day 2. And most importantly, tomorrow, make sure to show up tomorrow, 12 o'clock Eastern. Show up on for the Tuesday class. It'll actually be at around 8:30 a.m. Eastern, right? Because we're going to be live day trading together. I know you guys are excited for that, so make sure to show up for that. Hopefully, I was able to teach you something, and hopefully you can implement something in going even into tomorrow. And let me know, right? Tomorrow's Monday. We're going to start a session at 12. The market opens at 9:30. So let me know if you guys were actually able to take something that I taught you today and use it into tomorrow. I'd love to know tomorrow. Okay? Don't worry, we'll have a much, much longer Q&A tomorrow as well. Okay? Make sure to stay tuned with your emails. Make sure to check that out. And I hope you guys learned something today, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. All right? I will catch you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.